Now, see, the other day we talked about some phases of penetration testing and we talked about a few theoretical concepts. But
Yes, sir.
what we haven't talked about are what we haven't looked at is the tools that we are going to make use of in our process. Okay, so there are some tools that I need to talk about. Now, one of the most important tools that we have is Nmap. Let me just share the screen so okay we'll be able to see this terminal. So the first tool I want to talk about is Nmap. Now you can use this tool for host discovery. You can use a tool for performing ping scans, ping sweeps, port scans, vulnerability scans. All these kinds of things you can do with Nmap. So are you familiar with this tool? Do you have any prior experience with using this? Both of you?
Yeah, I use it for testing of several years back when I did CEH in
Right.
2016 or 17, sir.
Okay.
I know we have several options to do so with port number or with host name. I at that time I remember slightly, sir, but I knew about Nmap, sir.
Okay. See, Nmap, like I've already said, is one of the most important tools in our toolkit. So you need to be really good with this tool. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now, like I mentioned the other day, did you download that uh, VM that I told you, Metasploitable? I shared the link as well.
Ye- Yes, sir. I downloaded, but sir, the Windows. I have two antivirus. Sir. They both of them are unable, not making it to install. Even though I switched off both the antiviruses, sir. But I will make sure I will install it, sir.
Okay. Um, so your antivirus is flagging that.
Yes, sir. It is. It is now. It is saying. It is stopping it. It is saying it's treating it as virus, sir.
The zip file itself, or
No, zip file has been downloaded, sir. After that, when I double clicked it on the VM box, the blue color box, then it is saying
right.
like that, sir. And I did it on my office laptop, sir. After the class, I will try to do it on my personal laptop, sir. I think it might install it,
Don't
sir.
do it on your office laptop. Okay. Do it on your personal
Okay,
laptop
sir.
only.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir. Because my office laptop, my personal laptop was only 2 GB RAM. That's why, sir. I
Okay.
will upgrade it, sir.
That's the thing.
Yes.
See, the thing with something like Metasploitable is that it's very, very vulnerable. Okay. It's a virtual machine which intentionally has a lot of vulnerabilities, a lot of flaws in it. So, from the security point of view, there are a lot of issues with that system.
Okay, sir.
Now, mostly it will not be the case that it is exposed to the internet, but in case your virtual machine or your even your laptop that you try it on, even if that is exposed to the internet, if it is publicly accessible, then due to this Metasploitable, it may also leak some of your data.
Okay,
That's why
sir.
this is not a system that should be exposed to public networks, regardless of what device you use it on. So on a home laptop, it presents a less of a risk, is what I'm trying to say. Okay,
Okay, sir.
so but if it has only 2 GB RAM, then I guess there's no option because
Yes, I will upgrade it, sir, on Saturday. Mm.
for a VM that's actually less. So I think
Yes, sir.
yeah. Now coming back to the tools, so I was talking about Nmap. Now Nmap is a tool that's used for scanning, and not just for scanning. You can also use it to ping a device. You can check whether a device is online or not. Let's say I type Nmap Actually, if I just type nmap, I'll see this list of different commands, and it's a very exhaustive list, as you can see. So you can do a lot of things here. Now you see there are different kinds of scans. So I'm just going to do nmap -pe, and I'm going to scan my entire network. I'm going to do a ping sweep dot 1.1/16. Actually, you're not root. Okay. Now what I'm doing is currently I'm looking for targets. So I have a network. I'm using my private internal network, and I'm trying to look for targets on this network that I can scan. So I'm running a ping sweep. I'm not scanning anything else. I'm just running a ping sweep to find out how many targets are alive, how many are online, and what I can do with them. Now this might take a while. Uh, okay, not that long.
Sir, meanwhile, sir, one doubt. See, we have Parrot and this Kali Linux. Sir, Parrot is I know both are Linux, both for ethical hacking tools. So, are the commands also similar, sir? Similar to Kali Linux?
Yes, exactly the same commands.
Okay, then fine. Thanks.
Okay, because see, both are Linux, both are Debian based
Okay,
systems,
okay,
so
sir.
that's the same flavor of Linux as well.
Okay.
And the tools, like let's say for example, if I'm using nmap,
Okay,
okay,
sir.
then whether I use nmap on Kali or on Parrot or on Windows, the commands are not going to change.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the tools work similarly.
Sure, sir.
Okay, so that's not something you need to worry about.
Okay.
Of course, there are some differences in all operating systems. That's true. And there are some tools that will only work on Linux, some that will only work on Windows.
Yes, sir.
But within two Linux distros like Kali and Parrot, the tools will work the same on both of them, and you should not be having any difficulty on either of the two operating systems.
Okay, sir. Sure.
Okay, so don't worry about that. This scan should have been. Oh, okay. I didn't tell it to not do the scan. I need to tell it to not do the port scan because Nmap by default does both ping as well as port scans. Okay, try this out on your own. For now, I'm just showing you a simple port scan as well. Or if I just want to do a ping, I can simply do this -sn scanme.nmap.org. So the IP address is up, and if I just don't specify anything here, I'm going to get a port scan done. Now, meanwhile, I can show you another tool. Now, Nmap is, let's say I'm scanning an IP address, I'll use Nmap. If I'm scanning a website, however, I can use something else. Let's say I use a tool like Nikto. Let's close this. If I use, let's say, Nikto, this is a tool that will help you with scanning websites with web applications. And again, these are tools that come pre-installed with systems like Kali or Parrot. So with Nikto, let's say I want to scan a website. Again, what I can do is scan this, specify host, scanme.map.org. Now, this is just something I'm doing a quick refresher about a few important tools that we are going to use in our penetration testing. I'm not going to in depth on each of these tools because that's something that's done in ethical hacking, not in PT course. Now, this is going to scan a web application and it's going to find out details like the server version, whatever HTTP header information it can gather. And of course, it uses its own database for finding web application vulnerabilities. So that's the OS VDB, open source vulnerability database, that is used by Nikto. Now Nikto can take actually a long time to run. So I'll cancel it for now. Even Nmap can take a while, but it has done the scan for us. And this is a basic port scan performed on this domain. So on the server, the ports that it found open were port number 22, 80, and 31337. And the services running were SSH. So by default, SSH runs on port 22. Similarly, HTTP runs on port 80. And any other services that might be running will also be listed here. So it is essential that you get as much practice as you can with Nmap. Other tools, of course, are all replaceable, but Nmap is something that is very indispensable to our course and, of course, to our field itself. Now, there are, of course, specialized vulnerability scanners like OpenVAS, Nessus, and all. So, again, that is something you can try. For now, I'm going to take another interesting tool, which is used in information gathering, and it's known as Multico. Okay, we'll use the community edition. Okay, license agreement. Next. I'll have to log in. Okay, I'll do it later. Or we can try activate without internet. But I need the license key, which I don't have. Anyway, so I'll see this in the next class. The whole registering thing will take time. There's something else that we can see instead. Let's take a look at one of the other most important tools in penetration testing, which is Metasploit. Now, Metasploit is not just a single tool, it's a framework. It's basically known as the Metasploit framework. Now, Metasploit is one of the tools that is very important in penetration testing. It makes a lot of our work much easy to do. It has a lot of exploits, it has a lot of modules that can be used, and we'll be taking a further look at this as soon as we actually start working on our metasploitable machine. So then we'll be using Metasploit and we'll be seeing what we can do with this tool.
Okay, sir.
So for Metasploitable, the machine that I told you about earlier, I'll make use of Metasploit, but for other ones after this, I'll not use this, because when you are learning, when we are seeing how to do these things, starting with Metasploit is okay, but heavily relying on Metasploit is not really recommended.
Okay, sir.
Then there is a very important command line tool known as Netcat. Okay, I'll just exit this for now. There's a command line tool called Netcat or NC. Now, what you can do with this is, let's say there is a server running on a particular IP. So you can connect to that using this, or there is any service on the internet that you would simply like to connect to. So you can do that using Netcat. So you specify NC, the IP address and the port number, and it will try to connect. Now there is nothing running actually on this IP or that port currently, so it's saying no route to host. You can also use it to open a port on your device to listen for incoming connections. So NC for Netcat, L for listening, V for making the output more verbose. Verbose is when you want your output to be more detailed, and P is for port. So the port I want to use is, let's say, 5000, port number 5000. Now what Netcat is doing is it's listening on any 500, means any protocol, any IP address, any incoming connections from any sources that are coming to port 5000. It's listening for all those connections. So
Yes, sir.
I try to access this device from another device on port 5000, I will be able to access it. I will be able to have a connection. Actually, I can use it from my own device itself. Okay, netcat. I can just say for localhost. This. So it's saying connected to localhost from localhost as well, and the port from which we send the connection. So of course that will be random. Now if this were on another system on another device, again the same thing would have happened. In our case, what I'm doing is I'm just running two different connections from two different terminals. So if I say hello, I'll see this message here.
Yes, sir.
So I can communicate between two devices using netcat. I can connect two devices over the internet using netcat. I can connect to a server. It may be a web server, it may be any other service running over the internet. The only thing is it should be accessible to us, and we should know the IP and port on which it is present.
Okay, sir.
So this is also a very important tool, very useful tool as well. So always keep that in mind. Now, among the list of tools that we have, we'll run into situations where we'll need to crack passwords, okay, or we'll need to crack password hashes. The first thing you do when you see a hash is you try to identify what kind of hash it is. In some cases, or actually in a very rare amount of cases, you might be able to just look at it and tell. But of course, it's better to be always sure. So there is a tool called not hash identifier. Okay, so hash ID. Whenever you get a hash value, you can simply input that hash here, and it is going to tell you what kind of hash algorithm has been used for this particular hash value. Okay, so let me just take any sample hash. So I have a hash value, I've copied that, I'll paste it here. And basically my purpose is I don't know what this hash value represents. Okay, now I'm not going to be able to get the original value for this. I'm just trying to identify what kind of hashing has been applied. So I've supplied the value here. I'll press enter. Let me see what it says. Okay, possible hashes. So it's saying that it's most likely MD5, and it is also going to give you a list of least possible hashes, that it is not like going to, it's likely not any of these things. And this is correct. Actually, I know this is an MD5 hash because that's what I copied. Let's try. Now the next hash that I will be supplying is an SHA1 hash. Let's see whether it is able to figure that out or not. Okay, so it has told us that this is a SHA1 hash, SHA1, which is correct. So you can use this tool if you are not sure about what kind of hash value you have captured, and you can use it to calculate the to not to calculate, to figure out the hash to which the value, sorry, figure out the hash algorithm which has been used for calculating this value. When it comes to hash cracking, there is a tool known as John the Ripper. To access it, you simply enter the word John. And what this basically does is it takes a file containing some hashes and it cracks those hashes. So again, I'll show you that as well later on. But just be aware that this is a tool that you use for password cracking or hash cracking. There is also another tool for the same purpose known as Hashcat. Hashcat is also used for cracking hashes, but the thing with Hashcat is it's slightly more powerful as it uses the power of your GPU to crack hashes. Can anyone tell me why cracking hashes with a GPU is better than doing that it with a CPU? Can anyone tell me? Even if you don't know, just take a guess. Try. This not like you have to have the correct answer. Just try. No.
No, sir. Sorry, sir.
Okay, no problem. So see, it's okay if you don't know about it. Just oh, Janmejay has left already. Okay. See, the thing with the CPUs and GPUs is, I'll talk about cracking later. First, let's come to what I'm talking about. With CPUs, they are designed in a way that they can perform a lot of complex calculations. Very complicated calculations can be performed very easily by a CPU.
Sir.
On the other hand, what a GPU does is it cannot perform complicated calculations, but it can perform simple calculations very fast.
Okay.
Okay, so if simple kind of calculations and processing, it can perform that at very fast speeds.
Okay. Okay, sir.
So okay, so for password cracking, what we need to do is there's no complex calculation involved there, right? You just take different values, you check whether that matches your password hash or not. So that's for a processor, it's not really a very complicated task or anything. So a GPU can perform this task much faster than a CPU in this case. That is why for hash cracking we use GPUs. And Hashcat is a tool which uses the power of a GPU. So it's better if you use this on your host device. Okay, this tool is available for both Windows, Linux, whatever you're using. So if you use it on a host device, it will run better because a virtual machine cannot basically access the full power of your GPU.
Okay, sir.
So
Understood.
understood. Okay, good. If there's any thing that you feel that you might have to clarify, if there's any doubts that you have, don't hesitate to ask. Okay,
Okay. So
at all.
one small dot from 7 months, sir. Actually,
Okay.
uh, if I don't have virtual system, I want have my friends, sir, two to three friends, who are ready to give access to their laptops, so to hack them, like to practice practically, not
Okay.
virtually. So there are some tools that if I want, there's one guy is in Bangalore, so one guy is in Hyderabad itself. So sometimes I need to have a own public IP to hack some other systems, in some scenarios.
Not exactly.
Okay.
You don't need to have a completely public IP.
Router
You
like that.
can create a VPN connection. That will work. It does not have to be a public IP.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So if they are located in different places geographically, just you guys talk among yourselves. You set up a VPN so you can connect to their system using that, and
Okay,
you
sir.
don't have to have any public IPs.
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay,
That's it.
that's it. Okay,
Yes.
so Now we talked about Hashcat, we talked about John the Ripper. Are you familiar with the concept of dictionaries or word lists?
Dictionary, like password cracking dictionary, sir.
Hmm?
Yeah, yes, sir. Password cracking dictionary. I know, sir. We should create a file and run it. After that, it will create a file of assumption of some passwords.
Right. So you create a file containing potential passwords, things that you w- think that it could be passwords.
Yes, sir.
So you create a file that is your dictionary or word list, whatever you want to call it. And whenever you crack these passwords, whenever you run these password cracking tools, you also provide the word list to them. So what they do is they cover each word present in the list, and based on that, they try to generate the hash and compare it to the hash that you want to crack. So if the hash is matched, that means you have found your password.
Okay, okay,
Now,
yes, sir.
a word list can be as small or as large as you want it to be. There are a lot of word lists that are available online that you can download. In Kali or Linux, there is an inbuilt word list in Kali or Parrot. Sorry, not in Kali or Linux, in Kali or Parrot.
Yes, sir.
User share. I'm showing you the location of that word lists. Now there is this directory user share word list. Oh, I actually wanted to cd to it, and there is a file known as rocku.txt. Okay, ls, there is this file rocku.txt. So this is a word list. It is a good word list, but I would not say it is the best, because of course every word list has its limitations.
Okay, sir.
Now this contains 1 point, sorry, not 1.4, 14 million passwords. Okay, over 14 million different words, which have been actual passwords of people, and these passwords were leaked in a data breach that happened a few years ago. So now what happens is, whenever you're trying to crack any password, this is the word list you can use by default. It comes pre-installed with Kali as well as with Parrot, and there are other word lists as well. I'll talk about them as we go through this course. You can get word lists from sources like GitHub, and like I mentioned, word lists can be as large as you want. This is not even 1 GB. There are word lists as large as a TB, 500 GB, 200 GB word lists, because there is no upper limit to the number of words that you can have in a list.
Okay, sir.
And people these days are keeping stronger passwords, longer passwords, so your word lists need to accommodate for that as well,
Yes, sir.
right? So again, this is a topic we can talk about for ages, but the main thing to keep in mind is, if you're aware of what a word list is, that is good enough. And what I'm talking about is this default word list you should know about, rocku.txt. Okay, this you should be aware about this.
Okay,
It
sir.
is present in this user share word list directory, and we'll actually be using this as well. So
Oh,
now
sure,
those
sir.
are a few of the tools that I wanted to talk about before I start the course.
Okay, sir.
Now, uh, from tomorrow onwards, from the next session, we'll actively start, working on
Process.
our CTFs. So we'll start with Metasploitable, the one that I talked about.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and